Hey there everybody, just doing a review for this TimeUSB 12.8 volt 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And so yeah, I mean this is a 640 watt hour battery. All you have to do is to get the watt hours is multiply the 12.8 volt times the 50 amp hours and you end up with a 640 watt hours. You know, this is a lower capacity battery than the 100 amp hour batteries that I've reviewed, like the Redodo battery, Ampere Time battery, and the Power Urus battery. But don't sleep on these type of batteries, in my opinion, because they're still capable of quite a bit. You know, 640 watt hours of capacity is still a decent amount. You know, also that means that it can output 640 watts and it can input 640 watts. And so what's included with the battery, we're going to get more into specs in a second. But yeah, what comes with the battery is the product manual, this piece of paper right over here, 4 pulse bolts. I did put 2 of the post bolts already on the battery to the negative and positive terminals, and these are the 2 extra post bolts. You also get 2 rubber caps for the bolts right over there. And so what this piece of paper has is just like a few pointers of what to do and what not to do, so you don't damage the battery or hurt yourself. And yeah, just a bunch of helpful information that's like presented really well in my opinion. I really do like how they have this mascot, as I mentioned in the battery capacity test video. It just gives the product characters something to something to keep your attention, because this is a rather boring product. You know, batteries aren't exactly like exciting products to have, but this little guy right here, he just gives it some life, I suppose you could say. And it was really smart on their part with doing it. And also the product manual, of course, it just tells you a bunch of useful information as well. And so when it comes to the form factor of the battery, it does have a 7.7 by 6.5 by 6.6 form factor, and it weighs 10 pounds, so definitely lighter and smaller than the 100 amp hour batteries that I've reviewed. I think I can pick it up with one hand. Let me try it out. Yep. Yeah, I can definitely pick it up with one hand, but it is still pretty heavy. I'm going to put that down now. Yeah, because the 100 amp hour batteries that I've reviewed, those were like 25, 30 pounds. This is only 10 pounds, a lot more lighter weight. So if you have a trouble like picking up heavy weight, a smaller battery like this is going to be better for you, in case you got a bad back like me. But anyways, and so yeah, this product manual just gives you a whole host of information. It's going to be helpful when you get to using the battery, just like any other product manual really that comes with these type of batteries. And yeah, as I mentioned before, this does have a continuous load output of 640 watts, still a decent amount of power. You're not going to be able to power all types of appliances. You're still going to have to limit your expectations on what it can power. Of course, you're going to need an inverter when it comes to powering appliances with it. And also 640 watts can be inputted into the battery for recharging it. And as I mentioned before, 640 watt hours of capacity. When I did the capacity test for this TimeUSB battery, it scored really well. It actually scored a little bit better than the 640 watt hours. Because somebody told me in the comments, I think of that video or of another video, that these type of batteries have a little bit more capacity than they say they have, which is great. I mean, you're getting what you're paying for here. And this battery does have 640 watt hours, which is great. Just taking a look at the battery overall, I think, yeah, both the sides are the same basically. It's just a normal battery, you guys, nothing really to be in awe about. And so what I'm going to be, also I forgot to mention a lithium iron phosphate. It does use a lithium iron phosphate battery, which means that it can last for about like 4,000 charge cycles or more. That's what you want to be looking for with these type of batteries, lithium iron phosphate, because it gives you more charge cycles, which ultimately lets you use the battery for a longer time. You're getting your money's worth when you go with lithium iron phosphate products. When it comes to batteries like this or power stations, that is the way to go. And so yeah, what I'm going to do is we're just going to jump straight into using it with that Renogy 2000 watt inverter that I have, which is way overkill when it comes to using it with a battery like this. Because another thing about getting batteries like this 50 amp hour one is that you don't have to go very high with the inverter. As long as it's a pure sine wave, you're going to be saving a lot of money. This 50 amp hour battery is already priced pretty low, and the accessories that you get with it are going to be priced pretty low because it's a lower power battery. And so yeah, I'm going to grab the inverter. I'm probably going to grab a different appliance maybe to test it out with instead of the Lasco heater that I usually test it out with. But yeah, let's get to testing it out with a inverter. probably do a full-blown AC capacity test using the inverter to see how much we can pull, from the battery through an inverter. And yeah, let's get to it. All right, you guys. So just back with the TimeUSB 50Ah battery connected to this Renogy 2000 watt inverter. Once again, this 2000 watt inverter is way overkill when it comes to using it with a battery like the TimeUSB 50Ah battery. You would go with like a 700 watt inverter. Just make sure it's a pure sine wave inverter to make sure that your appliances run optimally. And I did say that I was going to use a heat gun because you have a lot more control over wattage output. But you know what? I said screw it. I'm just going to use the Lasco heater again because it's just a lot more quieter and easier to use, and I can have like both hands free. And so yeah, we're just going to stick with the Lasco heater. I'm going to set it to low first to see if it runs well, and then if it runs well at low, I'm going to turn it to high. Once again, the max output of this TimeUSB 50Ah battery is 640 watts continuously. Cat, get off. I need to get my cat off. Okay, just a sec. All right, you guys, I got my cat off the table. But anyways, what I was saying was, yeah, the max output of this TimeUSB battery is 640 watts. And so I'm going to test out to see if it's able to run appliances over that 640 watt continuous output and to see for how long. Let me get my phone, actually. Let me get my phone out. Set a timer. Yep, so I got a stopwatch right here. Let me just set this to low first. I have the electricity monitor connected to the inverter to see how much watts we're able to pull out from the inverter. And there is my cat again. Oh my goodness. All right, you guys. So never mind. I'm just gonna leave my cat there. I don't care. I mean, he's just been bothering me so much these past few days. So yeah, I do have. That's the cat. Okay, that is the wattage, and I did reset the kilowatt hour meter as well, so we're gonna see how much watt hours we're able to pull from the TimeUSB battery from powering this heater. And so yeah, let's just get to it. Honestly, set it to low first. Oh, let me get that timer started. Okay, timer has been started, and yep, we've got a 700. I think it's gonna go up to like 900 watts for the low setting, then it goes down to like 850 watts. And yeah, seems to be performing pretty well right now. Yeah, there's something wrong with my cat. Alright, you guys, finally got my cat down there at least. So yeah, we still got the heater running at low. Approximately 1 minute has passed. And yeah, we've leveled out at about 870 watts with the heater at low. Seems to be chugging along quite well. Oh, did that cat. Yep, did that cat. Okay, anyways. All right. And the reason why I didn't want to like get a heat gun, I said it's 640 watts, is because we already know that this battery can output 640 watts continuously, and I thought that would just be a little boring to just test out the actual limit of the battery. Why not just go over to see how far we can push it? And since we're doing well at low for the heater, I'm going to set it to high and see what happens. Probably what's going to happen is that the battery will automatically just like stop supplying power to the inverter because the output is just going to be too much for it to handle. Let's just check it out. Okay, set it to high, and we're going to jump up to like 1400 watts. And man, oh man, my cat, this cat, if anybody is looking to adopt a cat, I have a cat. Okay, he doesn't do this unless I'm filming. He does this on purpose. Okay, anyways. Seems to be performing well on high. All right. Probably shouldn't be doing this. This kind of feels illegal. Oh, okay. So yeah, we're at about 1380 watts and doing well. We've been running the heater for 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And with that said, I'm gonna just have it keep running until the inverter just turns off, and then the TimeUSB battery is fully depleted of its capacity, and we're gonna come back to see how much of capacity we're able to pull from the battery. And it looks like right now we're able to pull 50 watt hours. Oh, 60 watt hours right there. And yeah, with that said, I'm gonna give you guys an update in a second. Be right back. Oh, okay. So actually, just now, after about 3 minutes and 46 seconds, the inverter automatically turned off. So yeah, we weren't able to pull the 1400 watts continuously. I think it was too much for the battery to handle. And I mean, the battery feels completely fine. I don't feel any warmth from it, but still, I think the battery was like yeah, that's too much for me to handle. I'm gonna peace out. And yeah, that's what happened. So you can't power a 1400 watt appliance with this time USB 50 amp hour battery. Let me just go and turn that off and just turn it back on. Alright, guys. So after the inverter turned off, I did have to wait a few minutes, probably for everything to cool down and reset, so I could turn the inverter back on. Because like immediately after it turned off, I tried to turn the inverter back on, but nothing happened. But waited a few minutes, and yeah, I was able to turn it back on. Yeah, so what we know now is that outputting 1400 watts from a 50 amp hour battery is not a good idea. It will not be able to handle it, probably for a few minutes, but that's all you're gonna get. So let me go ahead and just reset this stopwatch right here. Set the heater to low. I think we're gonna be pretty safe at low. I mean, I don't know actually. It might automatically turn off again because 850 watts is too much for the battery as well. But I think we're gonna have a better luck in this case because it's not 1400 watts. I didn't touch the kilowatt meter, so we're still at 60 watts. Pulled from the time USB battery, so that's good. And so yeah, I think we're just gonna stick to low to see what happens. I'm hoping that this is able to pull the full capacity from the battery and it won't automatically shut off. You know, I'm really hoping that it's able to handle at least 860 watts. If not, then I'll probably just grab the heat gun and set it to like about 600 watts and just fully drain the time USB battery. But once again, I really hope that this test pulls through. And yeah, that's what we'll do. Oh, oops, forgot to set the new timer. Oh man, always forgetting about that timer. Okay, we're at low right there. Okay, and with that said, I'm just gonna update you guys again. I'm gonna wait a few minutes, see how it runs, and we'll come back. Alright, you guys. So even as low setting, the LASCO heater automatically shut off the inverter, probably because the battery wasn't able to handle that 850 watt output coming from the heater at low. Kind of a disappointment, but honestly, that's what I expect. I mean, that's kind of what I expected. I suppose that you're not able to output over the max 640 watt output that this time USB 50 amp hour battery has. So I mean, I suppose that these 50 amp hour batteries are a lot more limited in what they can do. I thought it would be able to handle like at least 200 watts over its max continuous output, but it can't. That's what it seems like. You know, it wasn't able to handle the high setting from the LASCO heater, which is understandable. I thought it would be able to handle the low setting from the LASCO heater, but it's not. So with that said, I'm just gonna wait until the inverter is able to like cool down, or like the battery is able to cool down. I suppose, so I can turn the inverter back on. I'm gonna grab a heat gun, probably set it to about 640 watts, the best I can get it at least, and we'll just do the rest of the AC capacity test using the heat gun because this heater only has two settings, low and high. And yeah, there we go. A bit of a letdown, but that's I mean, it literally says 640 watts is the max continuous output of this battery. So I can't exactly be disappointed or surprised, but I thought it would pull through, but it didn't. And yeah, I'm just gonna wait until the inverter is able to turn back on, and we'll be right back with the heat gun test. Oh, but I will say that the heater at low did fare better than the heater at high because we were able to run it continuously for about 4 minutes and 31 seconds. A little bit more than that because I did start the timer a little late. But yeah, that's a pretty bright side though. And yeah, I'll be right back with the heat gun. Alright, you guys, so I just went ahead and turned on the heat gun. I've currently got it set to about 637 watts of output power, and I've been running it for the past 40 seconds, and yeah, it seems to be doing a pretty decent job. We've currently outputted 140 watt hours from the time USB battery, and I'm just going to keep running the heat gun, hopefully until the time USB battery is fully depleted of its capacity, and I'm hoping that it doesn't turn off, you know, because the battery can't handle it, because the battery should be able to handle at least man, what is that wattage? Yeah, the battery should be able to handle 636 watts that I have it set to. It just changed just a little bit, but yeah, I'm going to keep it running, and I'll be right back to give you guys an update, alright? Alright, you guys, so just back with the time USB battery, I was able to power this heat gun for about 38 minutes until the inverter started to beep, you know, to indicate that the voltage for the battery was probably too low to pull power from, and, you know, the battery capacity for the time USB battery was fully depleted practically. And what I ended up with was a 530 watt hour capacity from the TimeUSB battery, and that gave us about a 83% efficiency rating, depending on if you want to round up or not, which is pretty good. That's 83% efficiency. That's better than most power stations are able to get. And and also this test goes to show that you're only really able to power appliances within that 640 watt or lower range. You can't go over that 640 watt continuous output from the TimeUSB 50 amp hour battery, because it will automatically shut down. It's not able to handle wattage over 640 watts like the Ampere Time, Redodo, and the PowerUS 100 amp batteries that I reviewed. So that it does have a hard limit. It's going to be able to power appliances over 640 watts for a few minutes, and then it will stop supplying power to the inverter, and you're gonna have to wait a few minutes to power anything again. So that's probably actually one big negative about 50 amp hour batteries. But by powering this heat gun within like the 630 watt 640 watt range, I was able to power it for about like 38 minutes. I think it was about 40 minutes, because I started the timer kind of late in this test, and things just got messed up. But I think it was a bit more than 38 minutes of continuous runtime for the heat gun at a 640 watt output. So I mean, that's good. I was also running the heater at low and high, which wasn't a success, unfortunately. But yeah, there we go. This test was pretty good. There is a hard limit with 50 amp hour batteries. If you want to go on to power higher wattage appliances, I recommend going with a 12.8 volt 100 amp hour deep cycle battery, because this TimeUSB 50 amp hour battery is really limited in what it can do, but still capable of quite a bit, as long as you're using 640 watt appliances or lower. Let me show you guys the recharging for this battery. Recharging for the battery works the same way as any other deep cycle battery. All you need is a 14.4, 14.6 volt battery charger, and all you have to do is just connect the clamps to the negative and positive terminals, and it's going to start recharging. But yeah, let me just show you guys how the recharging works, and we'll just wrap this up. Alright, you guys, so as I mentioned before, recharging for this TimeUSB 50 amp hour battery works the same way as any other type of battery like this. All you need is a 14.4, 14.6 volt battery charger. This one is a Ampere Time 14.6 10 amp battery charger. It works great with this type of TimeUSB battery. All you have to do is just connect the positive and negative clamps to the correct terminals, and it's going to start recharging. And yeah, there we go. It's I know it's charging because by this light it turns red when you have clamps connected to the battery. And once the battery is fully recharged and the clamps are still connected to the battery, this light turns green to indicate that the battery is fully recharged. And also let me get my meter right over here, because I forgot to get that. And yeah, it just recharges the battery at the same speed as any other deep cycle battery. Because I did use this battery on the Ampere Time battery and the Redodo battery. We got the same charging speed, and in this case we're getting the same charging speed, which is 139 watts. I think the other two batteries actually got like 150 watt input speed to recharge it, but it's probably going to go up eventually in regards to the charging speed. And yeah, that's how you recharge this TimeUSB 50 amp hour battery. Not complicated at all, you guys. Same as any other deep cycle battery like this. And there we go. All right, and that is the review for the TimeUSB 12.8 volt 50 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Is it worth getting this battery? It can be. It's currently priced at $179.99 on Amazon currently at the time of making this video. But it does have its limits. Of course, it's a lower capacity, 640 watt hours. You can only use 640 watts continuously from this TimeUSB 50 amp hour battery. So it does have a hard limit. It will automatically shut down if the output goes over 640 watts for a few minutes. Well, in my opinion, I would rather go with a 100 amp hour battery, simply because 1280 watt hours with a 12.8 volt 100 amp hour battery is a lot worth it, in my opinion. But this 50 amp hour battery, it does cost a lot less than a 100 amp hour battery. It's just depending on what your budget is. I personally wouldn't go with a 50 amp hour battery, but it's pretty good if you need it. If your needs are within that 640 watt range, it's a good choice. Yeah, the efficiency for this time USB battery, when I did the battery capacity test in the battery capacity test video for this battery, it scored really well. You know, it definitely has the capacity that it says it has. When I ran this AC inverter test in this review, it did really well. So I mean that's also good. But you know, when it comes to powering appliances continuously at a high wattage, it doesn't really perform that well. Obviously, I mean, I'm not going to be disappointed right there. That's not a negative of the battery. That's simply what it's capable of. And yeah, I mean, it's for you to choose, depending on what your needs are. But that's what I got right there. And down in the description below, I will have a link to the product page for this time USB battery, as well as a link to the review article. Once I have it published, I'll update the description down below with the review article link, and I will see you all on the next video. All right, goodbye.